Now, the book of Revelation is written in a particular structure. We call such a structure a chiasm. It's a literary structure which is supposed to set the events in a particular way in time. So, for example, if we take the book of Revelation as a whole, it is written in a sort of a pyramid shape. And the first parts are what we call the historic arm, the 7 churches, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and they lead up to the great controversy climax between Christ and Satan, and the followers of Satan and the followers of Christ. And the second arm, reading from the back to the middle, would be the New Jerusalem, the millennium, and the fall of Babylon. So this structure tells us where we are in the stream of time. And if you understand the structure of the book of Revelation, then it's easier to get round. Because some people like to throw things all over the place. For example, there are many who take the trumpets and throw them into the future, in other words, into the eschatology. So they'll take the trumpets and apply them to events still to come in the future when God restores all things. But then, of course, you destroy the chiasm. You cannot destroy the chiasm. You can also see where each one of these fits in by looking at the sanctuary language. So, for example, when you're looking at the churches, the seals, and the trumpets, the language that is used there still applies to the first chamber. I'll be dealing with that as we go along. It doesn't matter if we don't understand it all at this stage. So it tells us historically where we are in the stream of time so that we don't jump ahead of ourselves. We have to stick to the rules. And this is a marvelous way of getting around in the book of Revelation. There's a problem, though, because once you've read through the first half of the book and you come to the middle, which is basically Revelation chapter 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to 17, that's the sort of final block of the final events of the battle between good and evil. Once you start reading past that, you are actually reading events in reverse, because the chiasm is structured like this. And so it gets very confusing. You have things in the wrong sequence, and it doesn't make any sense. And the book of Revelation gets so complicated that you cannot put them into any particular order. Whereas if you know that it is a chiasm, then you can read the words as they follow in English, but the events you put in reverse, and then the whole thing falls into place, and it makes beautiful sense. And the literary style has a reason. It prevents us from becoming disjointed and jumping all over the place. Now let's just have a look how you pick it up so that it's not just some conjecture that someone makes. So for example, if you take the 7 churches, you'll see that in chapter 2 verse 1 it says, "He that holdeth the 7 stars walketh in the midst of the 7 candlesticks," the golden candlesticks. And when you look at the end of the book of Revelation, the New Jerusalem, you'll find in chapter 21, verse 23, "The Lamb is the light thereof." So there you have a light, and you have the Lamb being the light thereof. Chapter 2, verse 7, "To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life." Chapter 22, verse 2, we have the mention of the tree of life. So there you have the chiastic link. There's an open door in Revelation 3, verse 8. In Revelation 21, verse 25, towards the end, you have gates that never close. Christ in his Father's throne, on his Father's throne, Revelation 3:21, 22, 1 and 3, the throne of God and of the Lamb. The New Jerusalem is mentioned in chapter 3, verse 12, and the New Jerusalem comes down in chapter 21, verse 10. In chapter 3:11, I am coming soon. Chapter 22, verse 7, I am coming soon. You see how you pick up the chiasm? How they stick together? So you know, all right, this is how we're working, and this is how we move along. Now, what's also interesting is that anything that falls into the first part of the chiasm must be before the close of probation, because the high priest he's ministering. And that means salvation is open to all. When you come to the eschatology, probation is closed, because the gates never close anymore. They are constantly open. The throne of God has become the throne of God and of the Lamb. That means Christ reigns in his kingdom. So you can pick up where you are in the stream of time. So you cannot make a mistake by putting things in the wrong place. So it helps us to stay within the framework. When you come to the 7 seals and you pick up the story there again, the 7 seals are about Christ and his afflicted people. And you have the resurrected people enthroned. Here they are afflicted, there they are enthroned. So obviously the 7 seals falls into which portion? Probation closed or open? Probation must still be open, because they are still being inflicted, they are here on earth. Whereas in the second part, they are enthroned. Their suffering is over, they have been restored. So here you have heaven opened, and chapter 19:11, heaven opened. Chapter 6, the rider on a white horse. Chapter 19, a rider on a white horse. Chapter 6, verse 9, the souls of the martyrs ask for judgment. And in chapter 20, the souls of the martyrs are resurrected and enthroned as judges. In chapter 6 and 7, you hear about white robes. In chapter 19, they are given white robes. In chapter 6, 15 and 16, you hear about kings, generals, etc. They ask to be killed, and here they are killed. Again, so you find the structure coming together. Then the book of Revelation contrasts